Greetings, it's Compiler and welcome to the Introduction to Blender for Game Developer series. We have already discussed in previous videos the tools that allows us to divide the meshes in one way or another, like bevel for instance, which inserts new faces on the edges of vertices, or extrude, that obviously extrudes some parts of geometry, creating new ones as a result. So in this video we will have a look at more possibilities of mesh division and tools that are specifically designed only for this purpose. So in general we will just look at at three tools right now, and the first tool is called Subdivide. So if for example we have once again our favorite default Blender cube, we can for example go to modeling or the edit mode, and if you for instance select this top face, and we would like for instance to subdivide it into 4 equal faces. It is possible to do so if we right click and we have a subdivide option. I also have loop tools, which is an add-on which you can download, but this subdivide option should be the first one. So if you click on that, it will subdivide, create a division of this face that we have selected into 4 other faces. Of course, the same goes if we, for example, have an edge. If I click on Subdivide, it will divide it in 2. Okay? Of course, subdividing vertex does nothing in this case because it cannot subdivide a vertex. And as you can see, we still have 1. So for instance, if you want to quickly subdivide the mesh, you can select everything and just click several times subdivision in order to create equal divisions of all selected pieces of geometry. But note that doing it so prevents you from easily removing that. So for the case of subdivision, just in order to have more subdivisions and not to use them later, for instance, for extrusion or something like that, it is recommended to use modifiers, and we will talk about those modifiers later in later videos. Alright, so the second tool is not any less important than the previous one, as it allows you to create a cut or a division on a loop of faces. So it's basically called a loop cut. For that, we have of course a separate tool here on the toolbar. Here it is a loop cut, or you can click Ctrl R and it will allow you, by hovering your mouse cursor over the edges of the model, to preview where it will create a cut. And as you can see, I have just moved the mouse wheel, but rotating the mouse wheel allows you to increase the amount of cuts. Yeah, for example, 2, 3, etc. And you may notice those cuts are exactly the same. So basically, if we have only one cut, it creates 2 equal parts on the left and on the right side, or just on both sides depending on our cut direction. So the same goes about 2 cuts, it creates 3 equally sized components there. Yeah, it creates 2 equal cuts on the equal offset from each other. So if you, for example, or by using this tool of the loop cut, or by Ctrl R, if you left mouse button click right now, it will create a cut. So in this case, holding this button allows you to drag the cut somewhere depending on where you would like it to be. Of course, if you still want, after doing that, to place it exactly in the middle as it was before, you may just right mouse button click and it will snap it back to the middle. And of course, you can still adjust that over here, the number of cuts, the smoothness, etc, etc. Like for instance here. Only one thing to remember, that loop cuts are created only on a complete loops. If something is not right with your model, you don't have some symmetry or something like that, you will not be able to create a whole cut around the model. It may only be visible, for example, on 1 or 2 sets of faces or something like this. So if you don't have a whole preview of what is going to cut, most probably you made some mistakes or you just forgot to bridge something connected or something in this series. So now we have seen two tools which allow us to somehow automatically and similarly, like let's say equally divide objects like on 4 parts, or making loop cuts that are pretty much of the same size. But what we can do if we want to cut something specifically for a specific shape, for that we have a knife tool. Here it is, the knife tool, and it works the following way. We can let mouse button click somewhere and we are enabling this tool. So now I can click several times, plotting out my cut, how I want my face to look like. Of course, it's not recommended to create faces with more vertices than 4, but you can, yeah, obviously define some shape like that. And if you, for example, at any way find that, okay, you are pretty content with the result, you can press the white space and it will create a cut. As you can see over here, it was not closed, the shape was not closed, so it basically create only this kind of cut. We can try it again, cutting it like this, and it allows us to snap. As you can see, it highlights the vertex that we are hovering over. If we do that, okay, it creates a snap. It is of course better if you manually connect this shape to any other edge or vertex, but if we will not, it will be done automatically. So for example, like here, I press once again space, and it automatically adds connections, because the face cannot be inside of other face without being connected to any of the vertex, the outside vertex. Okay, and now of course you may be able to, for example, move this face anywhere you like, and it will act once again as any other face. Of course, it's not well done. The topology is pretty bad. And of course, if you would like to add a loop cut right now, for instance, as you can see, you can't cut in a loop this face anymore, because it's not a loop anymore. Yeah, the loop starts from here, goes over those sides and ends over here. This face cannot be cut. One more thing concerning this knife tool is if you accidentally, for instance, did something wrong, as you can see, Ctrl Z allows us to go back to steps, but if you want to exit the tool completely, you may press escape button and it will just disappear. Alright, so this is pretty much it concerning those cutting tools. Of course, there are not all of them, and they are already pretty basic according to their functionality, but still, I suppose it should be right enough to start the modeling journey. So, if you found this video interesting or any helpful, give a like, post a comment, and of course subscribe. So thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.